Coil.
Hello and good evening. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from Yusabata Desawe Kanda, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. Tonight, flag bearer aspirants of the New Patriotic Party, they've signed a peace pact ahead of the crucial January 31 presidential primary, and which is just some 9 days away from today. How significant will this be to the process of ensuring a peaceful flag bearer race and our outcome? Stay with us. We have a conversation tonight. Also, the widow of the late Ayawaso East Member of Parliament officially declares her intention to contest the vacant seat, hoping to add to the list of widows who have succeeded their late husbands in Parliament. Well, what are her chances? Well, the youth have been talking. Stay with us. We'll have a conversation tonight. Also, the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU Task Force, cracks the whip on recalcitrant and extortionist drivers, arresting some offenders and warning others to desist from unscrupulous practices. Stay with us. We've got details for you. Yeah, on Ghana Tonight, as always, you're an integral part of the conversation. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and on X. There's so many ways you can join us with your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions. Let's hear from you. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
Former President Akufo-Addo has urged all the flag-bearer aspirants of the New Patriotic Party to prioritize unity after the election on January 31st. Speaking at the signing of a peace pact by all 5 aspirants, the former president noted that unity is not optional.
This peace pact, this commitment pact, is therefore not a mere ceremony. It is a solemn covenant. A commitment that ambition will not override fraternity, that competition will not descend into hostility, and that once the ballot has spoken, the party will move forward as one.
President John Dramani Mahama has warned that Africa remains trapped in what he describes as a triple dependency, a situation he says continues to undermine the continent's sovereignty and development. Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Mahama said many African countries depend on external actors for their security decisions, rely heavily on donor funding for health and education, and export critical minerals without capturing their real economic value.
Too many of our countries are caught in what I call the triple dependency. We depend on others for our security choices. We depend on donors for our health and educational systems. We supply the world's critical minerals but capture almost none of its value. This isn't sovereignty, it's a trap, and it's getting worse. In my quiet moments, as I try to find solutions, here's what I've learned. Crisis creates clarity. The clarity is this, that we must build our own capacity to act.
The Chief Justice Paul Bafo-Boni has called on newly sworn-in circuit court judges to exude integrity, competence, and independence in the adjudication of cases and delivery of justice. 52 circuit court judges, comprising of 40 magistrates and 12 lawyers, were sworn in by the Chief Justice on Thursday. Addressing the newly sworn-in judges, the Chief Justice Paul Bafo-Boni urged them to ensure they do not abuse judicial authority.
I urge you to remember that judicial authority
is not asserted through eloquence or persuasion, but through restraint, fairness, and fidelity to the law. Any abuse of judicial authority erodes public confidence and undermines the very foundation of the rule of law. You must be guided by three enduring pillars: integrity, competence, and independence.
"21 drivers in Accra are in deep trouble for charging high and unapproved fares. They were rounded up during GPRTU operations to clamp down on recalcitrant drivers. National Guard Commander of the GPRTU, Derrimon Ekogezi, said the operations, which will now be extended to the evenings, is part of a wider effort to tackle driver indiscipline in the city and enforce only approved fares.
We deployed the group into 3 departments. The first group starts from the first point, and then the second group will be at the middle, and then the third group at Odoko. Ours is to arrest and then hand over to the police, and then the police will carry on. We are coming. We are coming. We are all over. This evening, we are in a corner, but we will not alert them where we are coming.
Has issued a strategic call to action for both the government and the private sector, urging a significant scale-up in skills development and job creation to tackle multidimensional poverty across the nation. Latest report from GSS shows that the number of people experiencing deprivation in health, education, and living conditions dropped from 8.2 million in early 2024 to roughly 7 million by the third quarter of 2025, with employment as a major driver. Dr. Alhassan Idrisu is the government statistician.
We encourage government to scale up skills development and job creation. After all, we saw the impact of schooling or education and then the impact of employment on poverty. We should also target interventions to the poorest regions and also to the rural areas. We saw that the rural areas exhibited more poverty incidents, higher poverty incidents, and then those without jobs also exhibited higher poverty incidents.
This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on 3FM 92.7. There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. We're also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. As always, probably brought to you by Flamingo Paint, Simply Superior, Sason Setsa Spray and Call Tum Preko. Coming up next year on Ghana Tonight, the new Patriotic Party flag bearer aspirants, they have sealed a peace deal. Will this shape the January 31 primary? To what extent will this also influence how things shape up or play out on the set day, January 31, which is just some 9 days away from today, the next at least 9 days ahead of us. They have the last leg of their campaign, and we'll get to know who will lead the party going into the 2028 presidential elections. Now, the former president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is urging the party flag bearer hopefuls, that's the NPP, to prioritize unity after the January 31 election, stressing that unity is not optional but essential for securing victory in 2028 for the NPP. He made the call while speaking at the signing of a peace pact by the 5 aspirants earlier today. Take a look.
This peace pact, this commitment pact, is therefore not a mere ceremony. It is a solemn covenant, a commitment that ambition will not override fraternity, that competition will not descend into hostility, and that once the ballot has spoken, the party will move forward as one. To the aspirants gathered here today, your conduct will shape the moral tone of the NPP and the future of our country. Your supporters, the grassroots, and the youth of this party are watching you. History will judge not only who wins, but also how all of you conduct yourselves. Let me be clear. The NPP is bigger than any individual. No ambition, grievance, or faction is greater than the elephant. Leadership contests must never weaken the collective cause. Unity is not optional. Unity is not a slogan. Unity is a strategic necessity for victory. So I charge all of you, this peace pact must not only be signed, it must be lived. Over the remaining days, let your campaigns be firm but fair, competitive but respectful. Ours is a tradition that rejects fear, insults, intimidation, and bitterness. Loyalty to individuals must never supersede loyalty to the party. After the primaries, there must be one party, one direction, one destiny. Let me end with confidence on a positive note. I have no doubt that the new patriotic party remains the best vehicle with the best ideas for Ghana's future. Our duty is to keep that vehicle united, disciplined, and worthy of the trust of the Ghanaian people. If we honor our history, respect one another, and put party and country above self, the future of the NPP and of Ghana herself will indeed be bright.
That's the former president, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo there. Well, the chair of the National Council of Patrons, that's Fremos Elpari, the former chief of staff under the Eswa Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo administration. She also spoke earlier today. She said the party's 2024 election defeat is largely due to, or was largely due to, internal wranglings, emphasizing the need for unity and cohesion. It's the same path that Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo took earlier. Take a listen to it.
It became clear that our electoral losses, both in parliamentary and presidential elections, can be largely linked to the many internal conflicts within the party and our inability to heal faster. We are unable to forgive ourselves, reconcile, and move on after our internal elections. The National Council of Patrons admonishes that under no circumstance should the choice of the delegates in any of our internal elections degenerate into irreconcilable disagreement, knowing that most of the positions in NPP remain elective positions. This peace pact is not only for aspirants and delegates, but also for all of us as NPP members and sympathizers. Therefore, the need for all aspirants to educate and encourage their supporters to see this important election as a time-tested tradition of our party. And we are all required to come together to prosecute the 2028 election. We need all hands on deck to win 2028.
All hands on deck is from Fremos Elpari talk about. In fact, this call for unity was a theme that ran through almost all the speakers, whatever they had to say earlier today. The minority leader, Alexander Panyumakin, also saying, talking about unity and treating supporters to prioritize the interest of the party over and above any individual. Same path of unity. Just take a listen to him briefly, and I'll bring in Professor Edud Jemfi, who is a political science lecturer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology and a political historian as well. But take a listen to Alexander Panyumakin earlier today as well. Take a look.
Let us protect the party that has given us voice. purpose, and hope. And when the contest is over, let us close ranks, lock arms, and march forward together, stronger, wiser, and united towards victory 2028. Our future depends on it. Our party depends on it. And Ghana is counting on us. Political competition is a necessary and healthy feature of every democracy. However, it is how that competition is managed, particularly in moments of heightened ambition and strong emotion, that defines the maturity of a political party and ultimately the stability of the nation. Internal party elections are not merely contests among individuals. They are tests of institutional strength, discipline, and commitment to shared values. The choice to focus on peace at this stage is therefore both timely and commendable. Peace does not happen by accident. It is the product of deliberate leadership, clear rules, mutual respect, and a collective decision to place the long-term interests of the party and the country above short-term personal gain.
Well, that's Alexander Panyamakon there. Though there was also a scene where Kennedy Japan was somewhat reluctant to sign that peace pact. We'll bring that to you in a bit, but Professor Samuel Edujemfi is joining us on Zoom right now. He is a political historian, also senior lecturer, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Thank you, KNUST. Prof, appreciate your time. First off, I want to start off from the theme that ran through all the speakers, unity. And they all acknowledged that there was that sense of disunity within the party that contributed heavily to the loss of the party in the 2024 elections, at least based on what Fremosa Opare and the former President Akufo-Addo have said to us earlier today. Is it the same based on what you see through your lenses as the disunity being a big part of what cost the NPP in 2024?
Thank you very much, my brother. The truth of the matter, questions that were posed to Dr. Bawumia and he could not answer. That is what became a major, if you like, path through which he would lead the MPP to the defeat they suffered during the 2024 elections. It is quite clear that gaps that you see within the current electoral internal politics of the MPP. Such internal cracks and divisions are quite historical. 24 between the period 2016 had referred consistently to Mr. Akufo-Addo, His Excellency, the former president, as a democratic dictator. The internet does not lie. I talked about the forced exit of Paul Awentani Afoko and Kwabena J. Agyapong, which necessitated the kind of challenges that we see. The conflictual situations that were found within the MPP itself, which instead of seeking ways to smoke the peace pipe, the chief actors, Mr. Akufo-Addo and others, chose to rather deepen the division using Machiavellianism to hold on to power internally and to eventually win political power in 2016, as you can recall. The chief beneficiaries of this internal coup d'etat done against Paul Awentani Afoko and Kwabena J. Agyapong were Mr. Akufo-Addo himself and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, something he cannot dissociate himself from, because he was a major party or partner to the flag bearer of the MPP, Mr. Akufo-Addo. Within this period, same period, 2014 to 2016, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia had critically focused his discussions or positionality on the critical questions on fiscal discipline, economic mismanagement, and weak governance structures. Those positions were not just usual remarks. They were affirmed as moral and economic absolutes. It was exactly that which drove his campaign within the period under review. And even on the back of saying, if you lose election, and just to tie same to what I'm told or I've heard in passing, what Mr. Akufo-Addo has said, that a party that does not accept defeat cannot win, to this particular discussion. In as much as I have disagreed with Mr. Akufo-Addo, His Excellency, the former president, for years, even before he became president of Ghana, on this score, I agree with him in total that, look, the party ought to have embraced the fact that they have performed woefully. And the blame need not be shifted to him, Mr. Akufo-Addo, nor to other persons of the party, except the team that led the party, which was superintended by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Look, maybe it is something you have forgotten, my brother. But Dr. Bawumia's current position, is it a continuation of an earlier principle? Or it has come under new constraints? Or what he is retracting or retreating from, is it strategic enough that it will help build the future of Ghana? Critical issues are that the explanation he offered to the NPP Electoral College 2023 on the basis upon which they voted for him to have the opportunity to lead the party did not bring home the votes in 2024. And it is quite clear that electoral politics is not only about ideology, it is also about coalition mathematics. During the 2023 presidential primaries and 2024 general elections, Dr. Bawumia publicly raised a question that has now returned with force. And as they are going to the primaries, they need to reflect on it, knowing why they were defeated. Look, the conflict in the MPP is largely generated by the current leadership of the MPP as the immediate cause. The remote cause is Mr. Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia himself. And both of them cannot be absolved.
I see, but you referenced the statement that the former president, Nana Akufo-Addo, made in that video we played before you joined us, that a party that cannot accept defeat cannot win the confidence of Ghanaians. Is it your reading that what he is making this statement based on that narrative that he is to blame for the electoral loss of the MPP in 2024, even though he did not contest, but because he led the governance that went into that particular election, and that he is reported to have sidelined Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and so he cannot be really blamed squarely for what happened in 2024? Is that he is responding to that? That's your reading of that statement that Nana Akufo-Addo made?
I wouldn't want to conjecture, but I think that the MPP's leadership, including Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, are shaking their responsibilities. There is what we call the principle of ultimate responsibility. Should the masses of the MPP be blamed? Or should the leadership of the MPP be blamed? Some will say these are hanging fruits. And if they are, then that is our first reference point, isn't it? The fact that the generals that took them to war and failed miserably and made them POWs, prisoners of war, and potentially pawns, do you expect that if the party is serious, such persons should be given the opportunity to rerun their failure? It's a question, Mr. Okansi, you need to answer. This is not a rhetoric. You need to answer for it.
Oh, well, I've just asked you a question, and you are giving me a question to answer to. See, I asked whether this statement, and you haven't answered this as yet, this statement by the former President Akufo-Addo is to suggest that, per his own understanding of what has happened since the 2024 presidential election loss, the party has not accepted defeat, because you referenced that statement that a party that says that cannot accept defeat cannot convince Ghanaians or win another election. And you are referencing it, trying to analyze what has happened from 2024 to date and going into January 31. But the party, you've had elements within the party who say they have accepted the defeat. But then you reference what the former President Akufo-Addo is saying. Where is the disconnect?
Yesterday, Mr. Akufo-Addo, His Excellency, was not to be blamed for anything. It was Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's campaign. He had his campaign manager. He built his own campaign team. He had his own electoral machinery in place. And what it delivered was massive failure. Refusal to accept the failure and to allow the right structures and systems to be put in place, part of which is to allow the electoral college to elect the right person to lead the party, and not to hijack, not to bully, not to force people to kowtow, not to muzzle these if you like, bullocks or horses that are using their horsepower to trash the floor of the MPP, not to trash them, not to beat them, to disregard and disrespect them, and to force them into corner and force them into praise singing in the name of holding on to some financial power or accumulation. These are among other nauseating incidents is what we have seen, where some people have been hired to attack some candidates, and consistently they've been on it, they've been at it, throwing, insults at them. This is not a united party. This is a party which continues to suffer from the activities of party hijackers. The MPP must clean their slate. And that is why earlier I suggested a bottom-up approach where those old generals, old generals in reference not to the old generals, so to speak, but to the recent past, those generals who yesterday, 2024, went and lost miserably with Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, should have been jettisoned first. Then the other would have been an icing on the cake. Unfortunately, in the name and strategically trying to hijack the party and still hold on to a defeatist front, a divided front, a conflictual front, they said, let the MPP have the primaries to elect the flag bearer before the other executives would be elected. This was, and it is still, the agenda to benefit some key people who form part of the failing end. I'm sorry to say that if the MPP repeat the same front which went to 2024 election, they'll be repeating their failure in 2028. Simply put, that is the case.
I see. But then again, in the next 9 days, we'll see what the delegates will decide. And then eventually, what the verdict of the delegates will be on the current leadership of the party, whom you have put squarely that burden of the defeat of the party in 2024 at their doorstep or on their laps. But Prof, before you go, there was an incident or a scene, not an incident, a scene which I referenced briefly earlier. We're going to show that to you, where Kennedy Onyejapan, one of the 5 as flag bearer hopefuls of the NPP, was somewhat reluctant to sign this peace pact document that was presented to him. Now, this is what you're seeing there. He was captured asking questions about for some clarification that he needed on some parts of this said peace pact, which, from what we are gathering from his team, it was said to be an important provision that was omitted from the document, which was given to Kennedy Onyejapan, not just him alone, but the others as well. You see at some point as well, Brian Achampong also having to get in there to find out exactly what was going on. So Onyejapan is reported to have paused and drilled the attention of the party officials to the said omission. The provision that states that the Electoral Commission must annul results of voting centers that refuse to do open space counting of ballots. So this provision was proposed and accepted by all the candidates and the Electoral Commissioner. This provision was, however, omitted in the said document that was given to the flag bearer hopefuls to sign today. And that is what Onyejapan is pictured to be drawing the attention to. But what happened is that the chairman of the Presidential Election Committee later, according to Onyejapan's team, apologized and gave an assurance that the correction will be done. So there was a resolution to what Onyejapan was raising questions about, and the assurance in the apology that they said omission would actually be put in and corrected. So that is what explains what we saw earlier. But Prof, how significant will this pact be going forward into January 31?
This peace pact would only have a place in the future of the MPP when they have free, fair, transparent elections. I'm not trying to say that it will be a perfect election or even be very much close to an excellent election. There is no perfect elections anywhere across the continents or within the global realm. There is no perfect elections. But what I know is that the indicators to measure the success of an election is if it is free, if it is fair. And measuring the freeness or the fairness of the election, how free or fair the elections are or is, it will be contingent upon counting the votes of real voters that are found in the register, who really voted, and their votes were duly counted for the one they voted for, and that the one they voted for is duly elected to lead a party. When the people therein, the flag bearers, find it to be more justiciable in the sense that their views were heard, their opinions were taken, and there was no intimidation, there was no evil machinations, there were no strategies to control the space and the sphere, to curtail the process, to affect the psyche of voters on the D-Day.
Okay.
Then the MPP would have repeated the right tradition where Professor Albert Dubois went lost and he was jettisoned. And I tell you, my brother, we can only hope for the best for the MPP.
Okay.
But it doesn't seem to me that the party hijackers are not going to attempt to do mischief on the set date. And once they do that, they'll be setting the party up for balkanization, for grand division, and maybe it may further inure to the benefit of the MPP, especially if the evil forces use machination to hijack the party that day. If the right forces who want change lead the party that day, in my view, there will not be balkanization, there will not be breaks. And that in itself will be a good starting point to reconcile their ranks and make them more viable in 2028. Thank you, my brother.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Professor Samuel Adu Gyamfi is a senior lecturer at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, a political historian as well. Now, in the next 9 days, we'll get to see what will play out after day 9 as well. And you definitely would be called upon again. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. But let's still stay with matters of politics, this time around from the MPP to the NDC. And that's what's coming up next, because there's something that's just happening in the Ayawaso East constituency and that's what's coming up next. The widow of the late member of parliament has declared her intentions to contest the seat on March 3. So, this is a quote that is attributed to her. That is Hajia Amina Adam, the widow of the late Ayawaso East Member of Parliament, Nazir Mahama Toure. Now, we're going to put that on the screen right now. Let's have that. It says, there has been a clarion call from many quarters in my constituency and beyond to step in the shoes of my late husband, who served the East Ayawaso constituency with distinction. She continues, I have pondered over the calls from well-meaning members of the constituency, especially the elders and grassroots. And in so doing, I accept the call to serve my people. That is Hajia Amina Adam. She's accepted the call to serve the people of Ayawaso East constituency. Now, look, before we get into matters arising in there, and this very important and significant development, because if you recall, 2 days ago, I did indicate to you that we had picked some signals that she was going to contest. Now, that cat has been let out of the bag. Hajia Amina Adam says she's going to contest that by election on March 3. We've been to the constituency. We've interacted with some young people in that constituency. We're going to recall that in a bit to give you an idea of the temperature of the constituency as well. And also quickly recall some persons or women who have succeeded their husbands who have died, either as sitting members of parliament or aspirants in that regard. I'm going to give you an idea of how the history has played out in this regard. We start from the year 2000, as at least the recent history as we can have it. The widow of the NPP candidate for Esutefi South, Professor Philip Kofi Ejabeng Amoah, contested and, in fact, won the 2000 general elections on the ticket of the NPP. So after that, in 2004, the NPP lost this seat. Alhaji Collins Dauda took over and held that seat for the NDC over time. So that's for Esutefi South. Then fast forward to this one. We're talking about Shai Osudoku constituency. In 2016, the NDC parliamentary candidate for Shai Osudoku, that's Desmond William Oklu, died in a car crash. And then his wife, as the widow, Linda Obenewa Akwele Oklu, who is currently the Greater Accra Regional Minister and the incumbent member of parliament for this Shai Osudoku constituency. She's held the seat for the NDC all the while. So yes, that's one reference point you can make of a widow who took over after her husband died and, has inked her feet and footprints in that constituency over time. And she's now the Greater Accra Regional Minister. That's Linda Akwele Oklu. So She took over in 2016 after the death of her husband, and that's what we have it. Lydia Sairam Al-Hassan, after that rather unfortunate happenings in the by-election in the also was Wagon constituency, she won that by-election, retained the seat for the MPP in 2020, but in 2024, she lost to John Dumelo. And then you have Lydia Lamisi in 2020, also succeeded her late husband, the late David Adakudugu, the former NDC MP for Timpani. She contested the 2020 parliamentary elections and she won, replacing her husband. Then you have as well Ophelia Mensah Hayford. That's the Infantiman Member of Parliament, Echo Kwanzaa Hayford. We know the unfortunate incident that happened. She had to step in the shoes after her husband was attacked and killed while campaigning ahead of that election. She won that election 2020 for the New Patriotic Party after the death of her husband, the incumbent Member of Parliament. And now we're seeing Hajia Amina Adam, who has declared her intentions officially to contest this by-election in the Ayawaso East constituency. Dr. Jonathan Asantiochi is joining us, is also a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast and a political analyst. Also, Dr. Jonathan Asantiochi, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Rashid Tanko Computer is acting director of IT and elections for the NDC, also joining us as well. Let me start off with you, Rashid Tanko. Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Alfred.
Perfect.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you for asking. Now, 2 days ago, I ran by you this strong signal we're getting from the Ayawaso East that has been confirmed now. How does the party intend to navigate all of this with the interest at play? Because she's not the only one. The High Commissioner to Nigeria, Baba Jamal, has indicated his intentions, and 2 others as well. This is a crucial development, is it not?
Well, Alfred, you remember our last interview, I indicated that Ayawaso East, that's Nima, is a constituency to watch. It's a constituency that we respect a lot. And I know there are a lot of people who express interest in contesting the primaries. As a political party, we will do justice to all manner of persons who wants to contest the primaries. And that is why we are opening the nomination come Saturday, 24th. So that whoever is interested, we are ready to sell the nomination forms and then to assess the qualification of each of the candidates who will pick nomination come Tuesday, Wednesday, 28th January. And so, I mean, it's a welcome news that people have started expressing interest. We will always navigate our processes with a laid down criteria. We have a regulation to go with, and I'm sure all of them, they are very much aware of the regulations governing our internal contest. And so therefore, everybody is welcome. Everybody is welcome. We don't discriminate at all. As a political party, we don't discriminate. I've heard a lot of people who are testing waters. Let's see what happened on Saturday, Alfred.
I see.
One thing testing waters, and another thing picking the nomination form.
Well, it doesn't look like the wife of the late MP is testing the waters. She's been quite clear in her words. But Dr. Jonathan Asantiochi, yes, I'll bring you in. There are some success stories of such situations where, you know, the wives of deceased MPs or parliamentary aspirants step in and they win. What's your point of departure with the history that I've just pointed out with these incidents that do happen where the wives of the deceased MPs have to step in and contest elections?
Well, let me say good evening to your viewers and to your good self and to Mr. Rashid Tanko Computer. If you ask me, I think that our value system frowns upon practices of this nature. And I think that is a bad practice that is rearing its ugly head in our politics. I mean, whether it is the husband or the wife, as far as death is concerned, the politics must be shelved. We are aware that we have had some successes elsewhere. You know, you've given a litany of the history and so on and so forth. But I think that our value system should be cherished. I mean, what does the ethics of the Islamic religion, say with respect to things of that nature? Because engaging yourself in partisan politics, right? When your husband died not long ago, you're going to get your hands soiled. Here and there, you're going to get yourself embroiled in so many things. Besides, you make it sound as if you create the impression as if that seat is something like a hereditary, for which reason it is a family affair. So if the husband is not there, it is the wife that must show up and then take up that particular mantle. The other part, when it becomes so continuously done, as if she was hoping for the husband to die so that she will step in. I'm not saying that is the case, but these are different scenarios that people can, make guesses out of some of these gestures from the widower, the widow, and so on and so forth. So, for me, I think that there are equally qualified members of the party that can contest, wrestle that particular seat and keep it, instead of the wife wanting to step in. Probably because, we have seen people playing on the emotional pattern, of voters or electorate or constituents in those areas. So she also probably wants to use that. I think that the party must discourage things of that nature. I've condemned that practice when it came to the NPP, and I don't think that I'm equally not going to condemn that particular practice when it comes to the NDC. At least if you really want to contest, maybe you can wait some years after you think that you are well grounded and you want to do that. Then it doesn't mean that you are going to exploit the emotions, of the constituent. Yes, your husband did very well, a highly respected person. So you think that you can run, on that particular credibility of your husband. So, I mean, a lot of things, are at play here. And I don't think that, as I said earlier on, it is a proper development in our politics. We are Africans and we cherish our values. We should be able to ensure that our value system, is kept to the highest levels.
I see. Well, gentlemen, stay with me. I'm going to go for this quick break. When I'm back, I would want to find out exactly what is wrong, really. Because as here, Rashid, everybody is eligible to contest. And she's expressed her desire. What exactly is wrong with that? We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and on DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere, you have detailed, and if you can hear me, you have detailed your reasons why you are not for this path of parties allowing the widows of late members of parliament to contest. There are success stories to it, although maybe you can reference the widows who lose subsequent elections after winning elections on the basis of sympathy and so on. But you see, Linda Oklu is now the Greater Accra Regional Minister, held that seat in the constituency, that Shayo Sudoku, for 3 consecutive elections. Now she's succeeding in that regard. Now, would you want to make an exception to the case or make that recommendation that is wholesale, that political parties should make it clear that the widows of any deceased candidate, that's parliamentary candidate, or a sitting member of parliament, should not take part in who replaces him?
Well, making such a puppet statement, could be a bit difficult. Parties may have their own differences, with regard to that particular issue, but I have made my point clear about things of that nature. You see, the deceased comes from a family. The widow, who intends to do that also comes from a family. And every family, has some kind of value system, that we all cherish. You're supposed to be mourning your husband. You're not supposed to get yourself involved in partisan politics that could be very murky. And you may end up dishonoring the integrity, the honor, the name and everything of your late husband. Take, for example, this may not be elections. From the time that Mr. Rawlings died, Mrs. Nana Kunudu Ajima Rawlings never got involved, in politics again. And I believe that she might have done that in honor of her husband. So, what is it that you really want to, what is it that is motivating you to really want to take over from your husband? If you go out there and you lose, I think that your husband's,
she says the people in the constituency
incur some kind of dishonor than honor. You see, it is a 50-50 thing. If you go out there and you lose, you would have dishonored your husband.
She says the people in the constituency have called on her, and she had to respond to the calls. And you see that kind of chorus running through all the others as well, that they were called upon, they were impressed upon to do it, and they've had to heed to that call.
So you see, take for example the Infantiman one. The police officer, who is a woman, took over from her husband, and she was only able to do 1 term. After that, she's been kicked out. So it tells you that she did not prepare herself adequately. She ran on the emotional button of the constituent, and so she did not have political experience. And so the constituents were hoodwinked into some kind of emotional blackmailing.
I see.
And obviously they voted for her, some kind of compensation, some kind of sympathy. And I'm of the view that, well, if she thinks that it is her right to do so, she can go ahead.
Okay.
But if I were a member of that particular constituency, we would not vote for her.
All right. But
in honor of her husband, we shouldn't vote for her.
Rashid Tanko,
she should soberly reflect on the death of her husband, and put things together, put her home together. That is more important than getting yourself into daily politics. That could be very murky. And besides,
that would be for the constituents to decide,
Yes.
when they go for the primaries. Rashid Tanko, is this a slippery path for you as a party? Quickly, in this area,
Alfred, for us as a political party, we are governed by our party constitution and the regulation as approved by the National Executive Committee, that is NEC, and through FEC. These are the 2 documents we are governed with when it comes to matters of this nature. And I can assure you, when we opened the nomination on Saturday, We'll wait and see who picks nomination forms and who will submit on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we will then assess them based on the party constitution and the regulations governing the primaries. I mean, these are the things that we will look out for. For now, we are very clear in our mind, and we have done this severally and without any difficulties. I mean, I'm happy you went through the process, like what happened the Shai Osu Dukutu. We had similar incidents before. We're able to navigate through that. And then so this one, yes, it might be a different environment altogether. But as a political party, we don't go through that path. What we do is that we rather allow the party constitution and then the guidelines for the primaries to guide us in conducting such processes. And that is what the party, we are mindful of. And we discussed this very well at the FEC to be sure that we don't go outside the party constitution and the guidelines as approved by the functional executive. We will use, and I can assure you, we will come out very strong in the process.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, and we will also keep an eye on the process for the nomination forms picking, and then also the vetting and your primaries, and then March 3 is the date to watch in the Awaso East constituency. On behalf of the team, we do appreciate your time as well. Rashid Tako Computer is Acting Director of Elections and IT for the NDC. Also, Dr. Jonathan Asantioche is a Senior Lecturer, University of Cape Coast, a political analyst as well. I'm Alfred Okanse. Join the New Day team tomorrow morning on Sunrise 3 FM 92.7 as well. Join the team there. Do have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint, superior